Friday, February 2nd, 2024, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So the influence of the petrodollar continues to wane, which is another term for de-dollarization, I would say. And we're going to look at today a country that is one of the top, not just oil producers, but natural gas producers in the world, and how they've made their first payment directly to China with their own currency digitally this week. And this, I think, is huge news. It just goes to show that they're not just talking about de-dollarizing, they're actually doing it. And I've been warning about this, of course, for over 6 years. I said it would take time, and I said that China was the main driver of this process, and they are, in my opinion, and that's why there's a lot going on in the world, of course. Before we look a little deeper into that story, just wanted to talk a little bit about one of my sponsors, the Dirty Man Safe. Uh, I think in this day and age, of course, of digital world, people kind of neglect real things, but I think real things are just as important as they've always been. And if you're concerned about your valuables, be they gold, silver, or jewelry, or documents, or whatever else, you should consider, in my opinion, the Dirty Man Safe. And if you do decide to buy one of these, make sure you use my promo code Monaco10 and you get 10% off. And all the details for how to get in touch with the Dirty Man Safe are, of course, in the description of this video. So back to the petrodollar. And well, nowadays, a lot of people call it de-dollarization. And I'm just going to share here with you the playlist that I have for the petrodollar. It's got 54 videos. So it's something that I've been covering, as you can see here, for 6 years. And so I've been warning people about this. And the main reason I have been warning people is that the last demand for a currency, in this case, the dollar or the petrodollar, the less strong it becomes. And is it any wonder that we're seeing a lot of inflation in the last few years? And this is a big part of it, in my opinion, because just like when the British pound or pound sterling was the major reserve currency for the world from around 1800 to, let's say, the 1940s. Yeah, there wasn't as much inflation in the UK, but when the pound lost its status as the major reserve currency throughout the 50s, 60s, and 70s, this country had a huge problem with inflation. It actually had to call in the IMF. It went bankrupt back in 1976. So it's very important that we look at this. And as you see here, I was warning the Shanghai Gold Exchange, the new Silk Road, and the threat to the petrodollar. Petrodollar hegemony under threat as petro yuan starts off on the right foot. So yeah, I've been warning for many years. One of my best performing videos is this one here. China delivers knockout blow to the petrodollar, part 1. I've got part 2 and 3. And how did I see this coming? Well, they were building the infrastructure for it, especially after the 08 crisis. The Chinese wanted to find an alternative to the dollar because they knew that we'd get to where we are right now with the dollar being inflated out of existence, all the debt, all the QE, all the money printing. And granted, China has done the same, but they need to find an alternative. So what's the country that's accelerated this? Well, here we go. This has come out very recently, January 30th, as you can see here. BRICS, UAE, or the United Arab Emirates, pays China with new digital dirham, ditches US dollar. So, yes, they haven't ditched it completely because I guess if they do business with the US, or a European country that wants dollars, they might still have to use it. So let's quickly go through this story. It says BRICS members, UAE and China, settled a cross-border transaction on Monday using the new digital dirham, sidelining the US dollar. This is the first ever transaction made directly to China from the UAE using the new mode of payment with the digital dirham. The direct trade settlement was initiated by the UAE through the mBridge platform, making ways for BRICS to end reliance on the US dollar through digital methods. And it goes on to say here, the UAE, the central bank, initiated the digital dirham payment to China, amounting to 500 million dirhams, which is equivalent to $136 million. Sheikh Mansour conducted the historic transaction directly to China, showcasing the mBridge payment platform. And it goes on to say that the live trade settlement was also attended by the UAE central bank officials and graduating students comprising 1,056 Emiratis. The development indicates that the UAE is ushering in a new era of digital payments. I just wanted to show you here, yeah, UAE, number 8 in terms of oil production. And in the top 10, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 BRICS countries. Yes, there's more than 5 now. Iran and Saudi Arabia and the UAE, they have joined BRICS as of this year. So, and I wouldn't be surprised if Iraq joined eventually, or maybe even Mexico or Venezuela. And if you look here, natural gas as well, UAE is in the top 10, just. Nevertheless, it is. And we've got how many BRICS? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 BRICS countries. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of the other ones joined BRICS as well. So I just wanted to quickly show you this here as well. I've had Simon Hunt on the channel a few times. He's an analyst out of Dubai, which is in the UAE. And he notes that 20% of oil sales being done in currencies other than the US dollar. So this is pretty big, pretty big. So just wanted to talk a little bit about why de-dollarization, or the waning of the petrodollar, is so important for Americans and Western Europeans. Well, up until a few years ago, the petrodollar reigned supreme. And why is that? Well, because when Nixon closed the gold window in 1971, that meant that the dollar became backed by nothing, thin air. So they had to find a way to create demand for the dollar, the fiat dollar. So what they did is Richard Nixon sent Henry Kissinger to Saudi Arabia to negotiate a deal with the Saudis, who at the time were the biggest oil producers in the world. And at the time as well, they had a lot of dollars that they were earning because we had a lot of crises in the 70s, the oil embargo crisis. We had another Israeli-Palestinian war, the Six-Day War in 1973. There was an embargo. And also the fact that the Americans had been inflating the dollar throughout the 60s and early 70s with the Vietnam War, and also the Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, a lot of spending, government spending, and a lot of the major partners of the U.S. wanted to yes, they wanted to exchange their fiat dollar reserves for gold, which they could under the Bretton Woods system at $35 per troy ounce. But the Americans had printed too much currency, didn't have enough gold, so Nixon closed the gold window, and that's what inflated the system. I think the price of oil rising, yes, it was triggered by the crisis in the Middle East, but it was just a trigger. What really made the oil price and all other commodities rise, like gold and silver and all other agricultural commodities, is that producers realized that the dollar became worthless. So drawing up this petrodollar agreement, which said that Saudi Arabia was going to sell all their oil, excuse me, for dollars, and in exchange, the Americans would protect the kingdom and help them with their development. Yeah, that was the deal. And it had been in place until recently. And what that did, it made all other countries have to accumulate dollars to buy their oil. Because if the biggest oil uh, exporter and producer in the world only dealt in dollars, you can bet that all other oil producing countries would do the same. And countries that had to buy oil, they had to have dollars. And that's how they kept the demand for dollars. And that's why Americans have had a pretty stable currency up until recently. So this is why this is huge. And it's only going to get worse. Is it any wonder that the Federal Reserve and other European central banks, the major central banks, can't really cut rates? Uh, yeah, aside from the fact that we are at major highs in the stock markets, it doesn't make any sense to cut rates. But the fact that foreigners, BRICS, and de-dollarization is taking place, that's another reason why they have to keep rates high. And it's not going to end well. And I think you need to think of the British Empire back in the 50s and 60s and somewhat in the 70s. That's where we're going into right now, I would say, for the United States and for Western Europe, which, of course, Western Europe is a satellite of the American empire, or Pax Americana. So that's why I think it's significant, de-dollarization. Am I defending the UAE and China and BRICS? No, I'm just trying to tell you guys uh, what's happening and how it's going to impact, yeah, the dollar in your pocket, or the pound in your pocket, or the euro in your pocket. So let's check then where the markets are this morning. It's quarter to 9 a.m. London time. So let's have a look here at my workspace. We've got spot gold trading just around 2056. It's up about a buck. And what we've had recently in gold, I'll show you here, is what's called a stair step kind of move. Uh, I think it's very bullish. It's not really spiking. It's just going up and down, throughout the day. We see the market go up, correct. But every day we're seeing new highs and higher lows mostly. That's a very bullish situation, I think, in the short term. And medium to long term, I think gold is still very bullish. If we switch this to a weekly chart, that looks pretty bullish as well. That's a falling wedge, and we've clearly broken out of it. So this is the spot price of gold. I would say that the next really key level here is going to be 2070 and then 2100. But we could still see this kind of activity, the step activity. I wouldn't be surprised if we went down this afternoon and then traded back up. But it looks pretty good at the moment. And of course, I would say the flip side of the dollar is gold. So the higher gold goes, it means the less valuable the dollar becomes. And I think this is going to be the case, especially with de-dollarization. What about silver? Well, silver's fairly quiet, as you can see, is unchanged. High's been 26 and the low oh 07. Dow futures is pretty much unchanged. The Nasdaq is up. I think Meta or Facebook had good results. They announced they're gonna use 50 billion to pay dividends and do stock buybacks. I wonder if they're borrowing that money or if they've made enough revenues. But to be honest, I don't follow that too much. And um, I mean, this is one of the reasons why it's going to be very difficult for the Fed to cut rates. How can you justify cutting rates when we're like here at all-time highs in the Nasdaq? It makes no sense, right? Even though we're seeing a couple of banks, New York Community Bank and Western, I think it's Western Bank, something like that. Yesterday dropped 10%. So the banking sector is coming under pressure. So we need to keep an eye on that as well. Can you imagine if the Fed needs to do something to help the banks with the stock market at an all-time high? It's going to be a melt up, I think, and that's not a good thing. It's not a good. It doesn't mean the economy is doing well. So yeah, you can see the S&P is up as well, about 0.6%. The currencies are pretty much unchanged. The dollar is a little stronger versus the yen. Um, Where's the dollar Swiss? The dollar has come off a little bit against the Swiss here, 85.67. And the dollar is finding a little bit of resistance around 720 versus the yuan. We'll look at the other currencies. Aussie dollar is up a third, just below 66. The dollar is down slightly versus the Canadian dollar here at 133.76. And let's have a look at the Kiwi dollar. That's unchanged at 61.46. Let's quickly look at the commodities. Crude is virtually unchanged, WTI, and so is Brent. As you can see, not much to write home about. Platinum is down slightly, trading around 915, and high-grade copper is down 0.75% at 384.50. And yesterday we saw bond yields, treasury yields drop quite a bit. We had pretty weak jobless claims numbers, yes, if I'm not mistaken. And so we dropped below 4% in the 10-year. We're still below 4%, but we're up about 2 basis points this morning at 388. And the 2 years 422. So with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good weekend. Take care. Bye.